The message arrived at 11:47 p.m. BTW, you're not on the guest list. Mom needs you in the kitchen. Wear black and cover that neck tattoo. You know how Vanessa's family is. I stared at the text from my brother Derek, my thumb hovering over the screen. The words blurred as I blinked, trying to process what I was reading. Not on the guest list. His wedding. The wedding I'd made possible. I pulled up my banking app with shaking hands, already knowing what I'd find. Balance, $0.00. Where $42,000 had sat 3 weeks ago, there was now just emptiness. My freedom fund. 3 years of saving. Gone. I touched the small circuit board tattoo on my neck, the one Derek wanted me to hide, and felt something inside me go cold and still. They didn't want me as family. They wanted me as infrastructure, as a tool. Well, if that's what they wanted, that's exactly what they'd get. But here's the thing about infrastructure. It's invisible until it stops working. And I was about to flip every switch to off. If you want to hear how a cybersecurity analyst took down a luxury wedding using nothing but code and consequence, hit that subscribe button right now, because this story gets intense. My name is Maya Chen. I'm 32 years old, and I've spent the last decade building security systems for tech companies you've definitely heard of. I make good money. I'm methodical, competent. The kind of person who reads contracts before signing them and keeps backup drives of important files, the responsible one. That's always been my role in the family, the one who handles things while my younger brother Derek lives his best influencer life, chasing sponsorships and aesthetics. 3 weeks before that text message destroyed everything, I got a phone call at 2 a.m. My mother Patricia's voice was shrill with panic. Maya, we need you. It's an emergency. I'd sat up in bed, heart racing. What happened? Is someone hurt? Derek's sponsorships fell through. The venue deposit is due in 48 hours. $42,000, or they lose the Sonoma estate. The wedding is ruined. Everything is ruined. I'd felt my stomach drop. Mom, that's a lot of money. Then Derek's voice cut in. She'd had me on speaker. Sis, you're the only one who can save us. Please. I know you've been saving for a house, but this is just temporary. 30 days, max. I've got this guaranteed brand partnership with a tech startup. The money's coming. I swear. I'll pay you back with interest. I remember looking around my cramped apartment, at the vision board on my wall, with pictures of condos I'd been dreaming about. 3 years of skipping vacations, of meal prepping, instead of eating out, of saying no to everything, so I could say yes to my own future. And here was my family, asking me to give it all up. Please, Maya, Derek had said, and I heard Vanessa crying in the background. You're my sister. Family helps family. I should have said no. God, I should have said no. But I didn't. I transferred every penny the next morning, watching my savings account drain to zero. The confirmation email arrived minutes later, and that's when I noticed something. It was addressed to Estate Manager Maya Chen, not sister of the groom, not Chen family, estate manager. I told myself it was just an administrative detail. I was wrong. The Sonoma Coast estate was exactly the kind of place that shows up in luxury wedding magazines, all glass walls and infinity pools overlooking the Pacific, sprawling across 12,000 square feet of pure coastal elegance. I arrived the day before the wedding, pulling up in my Honda Civic while everyone else had hired drivers. My mother met me at the door. Finally, she said, not looking up from her phone. The caterer has questions about the seafood. Handle it. No hook. No thank you for the $42,000. Just orders. Derek appeared behind her, filming himself with Vanessa. They were both in matching white robes, laughing about something on his phone. He barely glanced at me. Hey Maya, Mom told you about the kitchen thing, right? Vanessa's family is super traditional, and we just thought it would be easier if you stayed behind the scenes. Behind the scenes, I repeated slowly. Yeah, like coordinating things. You're so good at that stuff anyway. He finally looked at me, and I saw no guilt in his eyes. No awareness that he was asking his sister to be invisible at his wedding. Oh, and wear black tomorrow. You've got to blend in with the staff. My mother stepped forward then, holding out a garbage bag. Here's your payment for helping out. Some of my old Chanel pieces and barely worn Louboutins, designer stuff. You'll love it. I took the bag mechanically, feeling its weight. This was what I was worth to them. trash bag full of hand-me-downs in exchange for my entire future. Sure, I heard myself say. I'll handle everything. And I would. Just not the way they expected. The rental company had given me super admin access to the estate's smart home system because I was the technical contact. They needed someone who could handle the complex integration of security, climate control, and access systems. Someone responsible. Someone they could trust. That night, alone in the servants' quarters they'd assigned me, yes, actually the servants' quarters, I opened my laptop and pulled up the estate's control panel. 72 magnetic locks, 38 security cameras, complete HVAC control, fire suppression systems, gate access, everything. Then I opened the rental contract and read it carefully. Section 7.3 nearly made me smile. In the event of payment default or contract violation, property management reserves the right to implement immediate lockdown procedures. I pulled up the weather forecast, 94 degrees, unusual heat wave. Then the catering schedule. Seafood delivery at 1 p.m. must be refrigerated within 20 minutes, or it spoils. Ice sculpture installation at 12:30. Guest arrival at 2 p.m. I wasn't planning revenge, I was planning accountability. The next morning I found Derek in the kitchen around noon, laughing with his groomsmen. When he saw me, he broke away from the group. "Hey, about the money thing," he said casually, like we were discussing borrowed car keys. My heart started pounding. The 30 days are almost up. Yeah, so that deal fell through. He shrugged, actually shrugged. But Vanessa's dad might invest in my next venture, so eventually you'll get paid. Eventually? Don't be dramatic, Maya. Family helps family, right? Besides, you make good money. What do you even spend it on? Video games and computer stuff? He literally patted my head like I was a child and walked away. I stood there, frozen, as my mother's voice drifted from the other room. Honestly, Maya, don't ruin your brother's day being petty about money. Something in me went perfectly, crystalline clear. They would never pay me back. They would never see me as anything but a resource to exploit. And right now, I held every single electronic key to this entire estate. At 12:45, the catering trucks arrived. I verified the seafood temperature. 38 degrees, still safe. The ice sculpture went up by the pool, already starting to glisten with condensation in the heat. At 1 p.m., early guests started arriving. Vanessa's parents, Richard and Catherine Thornton, dripping with old money, and looking around like they were touring a property they might buy. My mother introduced me to them as our logistics coordinator. Not her daughter, not Derek's sister. The coordinator. At 1:15 I got a text from Derek. Make sure all gates open for the car parade, want to film the entrance. The car parade. Of course, content for his Instagram. I opened my laptop one final time, pulled up my banking app and stared at that zero balance. Then, I opened the estate control system and hovered my finger over one button. Lockdown protocol, breach mode. They wanted me to be infrastructure. Fine. Let me show them what happens when infrastructure fails. I pressed it. Every system in the estate shifted to restricted access. Perimeter gates. Locked. All entrance doors. Magnetic seals engaged. HVAC. System offline. The temperature inside was 72 degrees. In this heat, without air conditioning, it would climb fast. At 1:27, Derek's convoy of convertibles reached the gate. I watched on the security cameras as they pulled up, expecting a grand entrance. The gate didn't open. Derek's phone lit up my screen. The gate's broken. I picked up calmly. It's not broken. It's locked. Well, unlock it. We're filming. I can't. The system has initiated a payment breach protocol. There was silence. Then, what the hell are you talking about? The rental contract allows property lockdown if financial obligations aren't met. There's an outstanding debt of $42,000 that was due 7 days ago. We paid the deposit, he shouted. No, I said quietly. I paid the deposit, with a 30-day repayment agreement that you just told me you're not honoring. The system considers unpaid debts as breach of terms. I heard him trying to process this. Inside the estate, I watched the temperature tick up. 74 degrees. 76. Guests were fanning themselves. The ice sculpture was dripping faster. My mother grabbed Derek's phone. Maya Chen, this is insane. Let everyone in right now. We'll pay you eventually. Eventually isn't in the contract, Mom. I need $42,000 transferred to my account immediately, or the lockdown stays in effect. You're destroying your brother's wedding. No, I said, and my voice didn't shake at all. I'm managing the property, like you hired me to do. Derek grabbed the phone back. How much? What do you want? I told you. $42,000, full amount, right now. I heard him frantically tapping on his phone, trying to transfer money, then swearing. It's not going through. Insufficient funds? I asked. This is temporary. The money's coming. Then you'll get access when it arrives. Inside, the temperature hit 82 degrees. The seafood was approaching the danger zone. Guests were evacuating to the pool area. Vanessa was crying, her makeup running. Patricia looked like she might faint. Derek tried everything. Credit cards, maxed, bank transfers, insufficient funds. Vanessa's accounts, also empty. The wedding had bled them dry, all of them living on borrowed money and borrowed time. Then I heard Vanessa in the background. Can you ask my dad? Are you insane? Derek hissed. We can't tell him we're broke. But I could tell him something else. I dialed Richard Thornton's number directly. When he answered, I pitched my voice slightly different, professional, detached. Mr. Thornton, this is Sonoma Coast Estate Management. We have a situation. There's been a clerical error with the final payment processing. We need $42,000 transferred immediately to avoid a complete shutdown of the event. This is outrageous, he growled. I'll be speaking to your manager about this incompetence. Of course, sir. But the payment? A long pause. Then, fine. I won't have my daughter humiliated. Send me the account details. 3 minutes later, my phone pinged. Banking app notification. Deposit received. $42,000. I felt nothing. No triumph. No satisfaction. Just a quiet sense of something settling into place. I unlocked the perimeter gates. Derek's convoy rushed through, and I could see him on the cameras, red-faced and furious. But the building doors stayed locked. His text came immediately. Doors still locked. I typed back. Different system. You'll need to contact the estate manager. You're the estate manager. Exactly. And my shift ends at 3 p.m. I'm sure you'll have it sorted out by then. At 2:46, I watched Derek and his groomsmen try to force the main doors. They were attempting to manually override the magnetic locks, getting more desperate. Then one of them had a brilliant idea. They grabbed a decorative torch from the wedding setup and held it near a heat sensor, trying to trick the system into thinking there was a fire. They succeeded. The fire suppression system activated. But this wasn't a normal estate. This was an eco-friendly property that used recycled grey water for fire suppression. 600 gallons of murky, foul-smelling black water exploded from the ceiling sprinklers. On the cameras, I watched it drench everything. Vanessa's $18,000 custom gown, the 5-tier handmade cake, $12,000 of floral arrangements, the gift table, photography equipment. Derek stood in the center of it all, soaked in black water, his phone ruined, unable to film anything. No content, no aesthetic, just consequences. At 2:55, I remotely disabled the suppression system and packed my tablet. I walked to my car, blocked every family number, and sent one final text to my mother. Emergency system logs will show manual override tampering at 2:46 p.m. Not my fault, not my problem. My shift ended at 3 p.m. Check section 11.2 of the contract. Tenant liability for system tampering. Good luck with your lawsuits. Then I drove away. If you're still watching, drop a comment below telling me, would you have unlocked those gates, or let the whole thing burn? And don't forget to hit that like button if you think Maya was justified. 2 weeks later, I stood in my new apartment. 1 bedroom, high floor, big windows. It cost me $7,000 for the first month and deposit, leaving me with just over $34,000 from the reclaimed money. Less than I'd started with, but more than enough. I hung one thing on the wall, a framed screenshot of my banking app showing that balance, not as a trophy, as a reminder. My phone buzzed. Email from the estate's legal team requesting my testimony against Derek for property damage. I deleted it. Another email from Patricia. Subject line, you owe your brother an apology. I blocked the sender. Then a text from James, my coworker. Dinner tonight? Heard you moved. Want to see the new place? I smiled the first real smile in weeks and typed back. Yes. 7 p.m. I'll cook. I opened my laptop, but not to hack or scheme. just to browse furniture, to build something, to choose what my life would look like now. Because here's what they never understood. Infrastructure doesn't matter until it does. They thought appearances were everything, that the pretty picture was all that counted. They were wrong. Infrastructure is everything. It's the foundation that holds the pretty picture up. It's the invisible support that makes the visible world possible. And when you control the infrastructure, you control who gets to stay in the frame. For the first time in my life, I chose myself. I chose my own foundation, my own structure, my own control panel. They taught me I was supposed to sacrifice myself forever, that family meant endless giving without receiving. But family isn't supposed to treat you like an ATM. Love isn't supposed to come with a price tag and an expiration date. I'm not the villain in this story, even though they'll tell everyone I am. I'm just someone who finally learned that you can't build a future on a foundation that other people keep stealing from under you. So I built my own foundation instead, locked the gates, changed the codes, and walked away from people who only valued me for what I could provide. That's not revenge. That's just finally choosing myself. And you know what? The apartment has great Wi-Fi, thick walls, and a security system that only I control. I'm home.